Alright, Under Siege. This is not going to take long. I am not going to take too long with this, and I'm not going to put any images in. It's not necessary. Look, guys. What I said yesterday still is valid. There was a lot of stuff that should have been left for this show that would have probably been better, but they decided not to. And this shows, how can I say this? Many people are going to say, dude, you said it's a good show. What are you complaining about? I have to. Because what did we get in January? A rebirth of TNA, where they said they're better than they were before. In other words, better than Impact. What did we get if they can't do something better than what they were doing as Impact? Because why did they change their name? To just get better money out of it. They're supposed to be a better company. And at this point, in the beginning of May, we really haven't seen anything better than what we usually get in Impact Wrestling. Spotty camera work, sometimes good lighting, sometimes on and off, but mostly good sound quality. But the booking, guys, I'm not going to tell you Scott D'Amore was great, but some booking decisions here doesn't make much sense at all. Now, other bookings over the last couple of weeks, I'm sure Scott wouldn't have made. So some of it kind of balances out, but you can tell there's no direction here. Let's make this clear. I'm being honest here. Without a president of the company to guide the creative aspect of the company, it shows. It doesn't make a difference if Gail Kim is running it, if Tommy Dreamer is running it, or anyone else. I'm going to be honest here. If Triple H left WWE, went to TNA, and if he wasn't the president of TNA, and he was just a regular writer, even he wouldn't be able to make this right. Because when it comes down to it, if there's no guidance, it still goes like that. And that's what we've been getting for nearly, 2 months now? And I believe that's not going to end. Let's go to the kickoff. Rhino versus VSK. Haven't seen him since I was watching NWA. Yes, he was on TNA Impact. But I saw him more on NWA. He's alright. He got his butt kicked. Not surprised. Dorado Kid and Casey Navarro. Now, I know I'm skipping over the FBI and Battaglia, or what is it? Pateria, or whatever they're called. There's no even need to talk about them. Until they debut on TNA TV constantly, the new FBI means nothing. That's why I'm going to Laredo Kid. And I want to make this clear. I am not against Guido. I'm not against Little Guido. I'm not against the new FBI. But until they stay on TNA, we see segments in the back. We see them wrestling constantly. What does that mean? Nothing. Here, Laredo Kid is against Navarro. Casey Navarro. Guy looks alright. But it wasn't about him really being a new worker for TNA. But it was nice to see that there was a jobber for him. But here's the thing for me personally. I'm sorry. I'm saying this now. Why is Dorado Kid getting angry here? The Digital Media Championship would not... This is where you get me angry. Why is the Digital Media Championship constantly opening the kickoff? Can it be on the main show? It's your undercard belt. Can you not put it on the main show? Does it always have to open the kickoff? That makes it unvalued. We are trying to show, this is me, this is what I believe, because of what they've been saying about TNA being reborn and better. Why you now have a world title, an X Division title, which is your mid-card title, finally, and an undercard title where the X Division was when it comes to its championship. Why is it not on the main show? Why does it have to do the kickoff? I want to see Dorado Kid not on the kickoff anymore. I want it, if it's got to open any Impact Plus show or an actual pay-per-view, that's what it's supposed to be. That is the new Cruiserweight title. The X Division is no longer Cruiserweight. It is a mid-card title. It is now the IC title. You got a lower card, which is now where the X Division should be. Before, what it was. Make it mean something. I don't care if it's got to be on Impact, the pay-per-views, and Impact Plus. It should be like that. That's how I feel about it. This is what we got. Opening. Kaz and Macklin versus Josh and Eric Young. Now, Eric almost lost which ear was it? His left ear. He almost lost it. Literally. That table hit he took when he was with Kaz in that Full Metal Mayhem match almost tore off his ear. That's where all that blood was coming from. His ear, not just his head, but his ear. It cut him right along there. He got a deep-ass cut. So he had to have like a bandage over it. Now, I'm kind of glad about what just happened at the very opening of it, because once Eric took off his mask, was in the ring, you see Josh Alexander come out with headgear for him. Now, people would say, oh, here we go, the headgear guys. I don't care about the headgear stuff. Guys, we know that Josh Alexander almost lost his ear in a similar situation when wrestling. Hell, Mick Foley almost got his ear completely ripped off because he's got his head caught inside of the ring ropes, tied up. It almost ripped clean off. Well, actually, partially ripped clean off, not completely. So things like this happen in pro wrestling. I have never had a problem with Josh Alexander wearing a headgear, particularly when they explain why he has to wear it, because of what happened. Now, with Eric Young, at least in this match, he is wearing headgear that protects his ear that is still has sutures in it. So that's not a bad thing. I have no problem with it. The match was fine, but let's make this clear. Did I believe Macklin and Frankie Kazarian were going to win? No. But here's the thing. If you got a problem with Eric Young and Frankie Kazarian and you want Macklin to help him, that's fine. But where's Santana? Why is there a problem with Josh Alexander when the problem that Macklin had was with Santana? Santana beat him. He just came back. He got his butt kicked by Santana. He should have a problem with Santana, not Josh Alexander. Now, mind you, I'm not saying they didn't have a story behind it. But they just made it clear while the match was going on that Santana was someone that he wanted taken care of, and he wanted Kaz to help him. But where is Santana? Why was he not in the match? Why wasn't it Eric Young and Santana versus Steve Macklin and Kazarian? Not that. That makes no sense unless Kaz is going to help him on this Impact Zone this coming Thursday. It made no sense. It's not the match quality, and I want to make it clear. All the general matches here were good. It is how they're booking it. That's what I've been telling you. Moving on. Next match. Havoc versus Ash by Elegance. Let's make this clear. Was this a bad match? Many people want to say this was the worst match of the entire card, and I would understand why. Look, Ash, she is a character-driven wrestler. Let's make this very clear. I want to make this clear right now because there's going to be people, I'm sure maybe one person will say this was a trash match. I couldn't stand it. It was garbage. Look, I told you guys when the former Dana Brooke coming into TNA, she was character-driven. I said we were going to find out within the first couple of matches what we're dealing with. And I told you, I said it myself. She is a character-driven wrestler. She's not a wrestler that is great on the mat. She's always been a okay-ish, sometimes low par, but usually she hovers between okay to like good mid-card, to a certain extent, to sometimes undercard. She did improve a bit when she went to NXT because it was not about her ring work. It was her character work. Because over the years, she worked with the Primetime Players. She worked with R-Truth. She did several things, but it was never about her. It was always about working with R-Truth or working with the Primetime Players, working with Tyler O'Neill, working with Apollo Crews. Never about her. NXT, it finally became about her, and that's when they got rid of her. So here, this is about her, only about her, with the Iceman. I don't remember his name, but I always remember as the Iceman because that's what he always called himself on Twitch. So that's what I'm always going to call him. This is a character-driven wrestler with a valet who's character-driven. who had, who had, let me give it to you like this. The opening was fine when it came to Havoc coming to the ring with Rosemary, but when you see the Iceman coming out with holy water, putting it in the ring and not throwing it on them, and then you see a Ash by Elegance, instead of coming out with a cross, she comes out with garlic, thinking that garlic that would protect her from evil when it means that's more for a vampire. It is character stuff, guys. And then the one very interesting thing, you see how the Iceman gives a little spritz to Rosemary, trying to exercise her demon. I took a moment to exercise her demon. What happened? She decided to grab the holy water, do this, and she spits up red blood. Now, I gotta say, that was something you don't normally see. And it was nice to see that they were playing into this story. Yes, it's stupid, but I enjoyed it. And even the guys in commentary saw, and everyone was going, oh! That added to the match. Now, the match itself, was it good? It played into Ash's character. She is trying to look like a freaking sexy bombshell, which she is. I mean, if you see some of the images, I'm sure some people are going to snatch of her in Under Siege. Those boobies look good. She still looks good. She's got the curves that look good. And she plays into a little bit of it. But she was trying to be aggressive against Havoc and then get scared at Havoc that she could not stop her. And then when the little bit that happened outside with the Iceman, with Rosemary, that was a distraction enough that Ash could win and even surprise herself. And she says, I've been blessed by God. That's what you got. I will say, as a story, no story. As a gimmick, it was funny. I'm not telling you it was great. And I know my friend who loves Johnny Swinger would rather see Johnny Swinger than Ash by Elegance. And I'm going to tell you this, my friend. I know you love Ash. I know you don't really care that much about Ash. And you care more about Johnny Swinger. I'm sorry. At this point, I'd rather look at Booba than look at a guy go, yeah! I'm sorry. You can give me all you want when it comes to Johnny Swinger. And I'm not against Johnny. He's a funny, comedic wrestler. He was and still is. But at this point, he's not there. And we have very few people who do comedy in TNA. She's it. And as much as she's not as great as Johnny when it comes to coming to his comedic work, she's doing at least some comedic work, using some sex appeal, and a little bit of wrestling. I'm sorry. Booba's gonna win over, yeah! I'm sorry, I'm sorry, my friend. You know who you are. And Stefan, you know who you are. You know you love Johnny, but I'm sorry. Johnny can go to the wayside when it comes to Ash at this moment. We got a woman who does do some good comedy, who's smoking hot, and can do a little to decent wrestling. And they are pushing her. I'm sorry. This is what you get. I'm sorry, my friend. Moving on. What do we got next? We got the match that had to be switched because Hammerstone got injured. Don't know how he got injured, but he got injured. I don't know if it was because of the street fight he had with Diener. Don't know. It was switched with Zachary Wentz. And I'm going like, you had to pick Zach? Couldn't you pick AJ Francis? Why did it have to be Zachary? And then the most strangest thing, because not only Hammerstone wasn't there, Trey Miguel wasn't there. What the fuck happened to Trey Miguel? Kind of like with Chris Bay. He wasn't there either. What is going on? You guys can go check for yourself. And I'm going like, as someone who's watching the show where they announced that Trey Miguel is supposed to come out with him, and even the announcer's going, Trey's supposed to come out with him, but he doesn't come out. What the hell happened? So we get the match. It wasn't too bad. But the one thing that was more important than the match, and this is all that mattered, and this is where it kind of makes it even worse, because of last night, when we saw the taping that probably happened a couple of weeks ago. We found out that Joe Henry's, I Believe song became 6th on the UK charts. This is not a joke, guys. Spotify recognized it. The UK charts recognize the song too. It has been downloaded multiple hundreds of thousands to near a million times. It is a hit. And I'm going, oh shit. And that makes it worse for what happened yesterday. Couldn't they done the apology here? Where it would make it even more special for the crowd at Under Siege. I'm sorry. For me personally, what happened Thursday was dumb. They could have done it here. Yes, they could have still stated that his I Believe song was still 6th on the charts. And he could have recognized it. And we could have still got the I Believe song that he normally does. The diss song number 1, diss song number 2, and his third diss song. We could have all that here. And I felt like that was a missed opportunity. That's just me moving on. Next match. Tag match for the women's. Well, actually. The reason I didn't say knockouts is, let's make this clear. We're talking about 3 knockouts and 1 diva in Alicia Edwards. That's what she is. Next to Ash by Elegance, we also have one other woman who's trying to use as much sex appeal as she got. And out of all 4 women, let's make this clear. I'm going to say this clearly. I don't hate Jody Threat. I don't hate Marsha Slamovich. I don't hate Danny Luna. And I don't hate Alicia Edwards. But out of all 4 of those women, the one who shows the most sex appeal is Alicia Edwards. Going out with the system, getting very sexy dressed up, smoking a cigar. And when you see those special vid packs with her, with the rest of the system holding the cigar, she is sex appeal. So out of all 4 of those women who's showing the most amount of flesh, but not the most amount of wrestling, it's going to be Alicia Edwards. Now, I'm not saying that she can't wrestle. I can't say that. If you compare her to Ash of Elegance, I'm going to be honest here. This is Ash. This is Alicia. Even though Alicia's been in TNA, Impact, and back to TNA again, 17 years from what I understand, she's not one of the greatest wrestlers. She's more of a character-driven type of person like Ash is right now. It's just Ash of Elegance can be a better wrestler than her. So this is what we got during the match. We got mostly Danny Luna dealing with Marsha Slamovich, who, I gotta say this. You look at Danny Luna, you look at Jody Threat, and you look at Marsha Slamovich. Marsha is the best wrestler of all 3. Then you got, well, you know what? What gets me was the lead singer for Rancid. He was there. But he didn't interfere. He was just on the mic. And I felt like he should have, I forgot his name, because I don't listen to punk rock music much at all. It's very rare I listen to punk rock music. But let me give it to you like this. I gotta say this. Floyd Ferguson, I wish he had done something. I wish he could have tried to help and at least involved himself a little bit. I really felt that Lloyd, who's not only a friend to Jody Threat after 20 years, but also a friend to Ruby Soho, and he gave one of his songs to her, I really wish that he had involved himself in the match. I just felt like he should be there. He should have involved himself at least one point. He didn't have to get hurt, but he could have helped them. At least try to pick up one of them, pat them on the shoulder and say, come on, girls, you can do it. In the end, Marsha and Alicia Edwards won the match. And that's understandable. They want Alicia to have a title. She's not going to get it from... she's not getting it from... I think about Jordan Grace going against Alicia. I remember the match they had, I think a year or 2 ago, where Alicia tried and got annihilated 100% by a Jordan Grace. She was annihilated by her. So the only option she had was to get it for the tag titles. Being a Knockouts Tag Champion is the only option they got. That's it. Now here's where it gets a little something. Because you got Alicia Edwards in the system. Does not mean Marsha Slamovich Shouldn't she be in the system as well? I truly believe they should allow her to join. But I don't know if they'll put her in there. I think she should join. The tag champion should be in the system. You got the main tag champions, and then you have the main knockouts tag champions. Shouldn't they all be together? That's what I'm thinking. She's dominant enough to be in the system, but the question is, will creator put her in there? Or are they just going to have just one woman in the system instead of two? I'm just saying. You guys tell me below how you feel. I do believe Marsha should be in there. And I like Marsha. She's cute. She's cute. I mean, I'm not going to say she isn't, but you know what I mean. Next, Rich Swann versus Jake something. Oh, my goodness. I'm sorry. I got Jake something and Joe Henry mixed up. Jake something was supposed to work with Hammerstone. The reason that I think I talk about this is I think Joe Henry would have worked with AJ Francis with Rick Swann by his side. That's the reason why I got it mixed up. I'm very sorry, guys. I apologize. I apologize for what I said earlier. I don't think I'll be putting anything in this. This is just going to be straight uploaded. But I apologize about that. But saying Joe Henry and Hammerstone was supposed to be there, I'm sorry. I was wrong. The reason I said that was because since Rick Swann was taking the place of Hammerstone working against Jake something, that's the reason why I got it confused, because it should be AJ Francis working with Joe Henry and Rick Swann by his side, not this where Rick Swann's doing the match and AJ Francis is by his side. I don't understand the booking for that. That's just me. It was fine. Joe didn't come out to help Jake something. Cody Deaner did to try and take care of AJ Francis, who was messing up the match for AJ something. It wasn't a bad match. I'm not saying it was. It was a good match. But it felt like, next to the bad camera work, and it was bad camera work, and most of these matches didn't have great camera work. There was some, let me give it to you like this. The kickoff had one okay match with a good camera, and two so-so matches with the camera. The rest were okay, bad, okay, so-so, and in this match, bad. They just couldn't focus correctly because they couldn't keep up with it. It was so spotty, most of the matches that we saw. But AJ Francis decking a lot of times a Jake something, and then Cody Deaner coming out saying, I spoke to Santino, I want to do something about it. Instead of DQing this match, I come down there and mess with you so the match can keep going. And is that the people what they want? Well, that's what the people want if they choose it. And AJ Francis cleans the clock of Cody Deaner. And in the end, Jake something lose really, not badly, but he gets nailed pretty good by Rick Swann, and he lost two first classes, AJ Francis and Rick Swann. And if you're not the first, you last. I know that's not what he said, but I'm saying it like that. I will say that I was not happy that Hammerstone was hurt, but it wasn't a bad match. But I still believe Joe Henry and AJ Francis should have had their match. It made the most sense, but as they say, card subject to change. Next, the match that I was looking forward to the most. Kushida versus Jonathan Gresham, who's supposedly the 2.0 of the Octopus. Spitting up black ink, guys. This match was the best match of the entire show for me personally. It wasn't just the match quality was the best, and it was. And I'm not taking anything away from Mustafa Ali and Ace Austin, which I'll talk about. This was the best quality match they had on the card. But then you see the Octopus take off the Octopus section of the mask, and the rest of the mask stays on. You see him during the match coughing and black ink appearing on his hand. Eventually he bites Kushida on the arm, and there's black ink on his arm. And eventually, as Kushida's getting the advantage on him, trying to put the hoverboard lock on him, trying to get him down, eventually you see Jonathan Gresham coughing up and spitting up black ink. And Kushida's looking at him like, what the hell? Until he gets grabbed in the face with some of the ink on Gretchen's hand. And then Gretchen puts it in his mouth, puts it on his mouth, pins him down with his hand on his mouth. 1, 2, 3, Gretchen leaves. And then after the match, you see Kushida covered in black ink. Maybe this will be part of the thumbnail if I'm interested in doing it. And then he starts spitting up black ink himself. This is the most interesting thing I've seen from Jonathan Gresham. He did change his style just slightly, but he's still the same foundationist from ROH. He just wrestles the same, but at least he is adding to his persona now. What the hell did we just look at? What was that? I am very curious how they're going to book this man. And will they book him to mean something? Instead of just leaving him in the undercard. You see me botching here. Because I'm thinking this. Jonathan Gresham's not good or evil. He has just removed his third and final mask. He's showing what he truly is. I don't want him to be good or evil. Just Gresham. He comes out with that mask. Inked out. He takes on Mustafa Ali. He takes on the system. I don't care who he takes on. It could be a good guy. It can be a bad guy. Let him take him on. And this is what we get. Next. The match that I knew wouldn't be bad, but I wish they had done it on Impact TV. Mixed tag. PCO, Grace. Khan, Staff Delander. Not against any of them. The match was okay. It was good. Seeing that when it came down to it, the one who wanted to be physical was Jordan Grace. She's willing to go up against Khan. She was willing to throw Khan. And sadly, the camera work was not good here because during the ending part of the match, when you finally see Jordan Grace nutshot Khan again, like she's done before, and then picks him up where he's almost 300 pounds, or a little bit more, lifts him up, puts him on her shoulders, instead of them switching to the forward camera, because they could have switched to the forward camera or overhead cam to see her give him basically a Death Valley driver. They didn't. They used a side shot and they stuck with it. And I don't know why they did that. I wanted to see that shot where you see her right in front of the hard cam, which she was. And if you couldn't get the angle correctly, you got an overhead cam. You could have positioned it. Why didn't they? Why? It was so bad. But the match was fine. Staff Delander kept messing with PCO, trying to turn him on. He almost reached the point of dipping her back and ready to kiss her when they got stopped. And what do we get? We get Grace winning against her rival and PCO winning against his. But then I'm wondering, what are they going to do with PCO and Khan now? PCO has beaten Khan twice, and now he's beaten him once in a tag match. What's left? Monsters Ball? Last Man Standing? Instead of making it PCO wins, then Khan, PCO win, then Khan, going back and forth, they got PCO winning now 3 times against Khan. They got nothing left to do, and it feels bad. Moving on. X Division match. The second best match of the night. X Division with Mustafa Ali and Ace Austin. No Chris Bay to be seen. Kind of like what happened with Wentz and Trey Miguel. I don't know what happened. Even though they said he will not be there if he wins. Fine. But it kind of, that makes me wonder, are they going to break them up? I don't think they should. Because they got no tag teams. If they break up Ace Austin and Chris Bay because of the dissension between them, how many tag teams do you have left? You got the System. You got the Helping Hands. And we don't know when the new FBI is going to be there. We don't see the Grizzled Young Vets now because we just saw them on AEW TV. Remember, the Grizzled Young Vets, I don't even know if they have a long-term contract with TNA. They may not. They may have just been appearing on TNA as they just do recordings and then they're gone. Because unless they're going to show up on the next Impact shows and keep going, we're done with the Grizzled Young Vets. So this sucks if they break up ABC because we have no other teams. Look, the Motor City Machine Guns are gone. So what the hell do we have left for the tag team division? Unless we're going to bring in jobbers, we got nothing. Nothing. So let's move on to Ali and Ace Austin. The match was good. Since it was the first time they ever saw each other in the ring, working with each other, they did pretty damn well. There were little botches here and there because they're not really familiar with each other, but it doesn't mean they weren't good enough to figure it out. And I did enjoy the match. Seeing that Ali wanted to mess with the left arm of Ace, and Ace messed with the left arm of Ali, fine. Seeing that the SS, Secret Service of Ali, the SSA, Secret Service, the SSOA, the Secret Service of Ali, make that clear. They kept helping him until he won, which was good. They're still believing in Mustafa Ali as their champ right now. So that's a good thing. The question is, will they bring in more people from the outside for him to job for him? Because you don't have that many people left. You don't. And that's going to be an issue. If they don't keep feeding him people, you're going to get bored with Ali very soon. He's a good exhibition champion, but he needs more people to mess with. They got to bring people in. This is where one of the major problems of TNA has always been. They never have jobbers. Someone said you don't need jobbers. Or another person said that you have to have specific jobbers to do the work. No, you just need jobbers, and the creative team tells them what to do. This is what people don't understand. As they said back in WWF, enhance talent. Jobbers are told to go out there and do it in a certain way. That's how they used to do it. They barely have any jobbers anymore in WWE. They use the same people that's supposed to be mainline, and then they drop them and make them into jobbers, and sometimes they bring them back again. Here in TNA, they have no jobbers. And worse yet, they don't bring people in from the outside to job. I cannot believe that if they want to become something better, they refuse to fork out money to every week. They keep going to another location where they record, or they do 2 or 3 recordings in the same location. You can't tell me there's no wrestling company nearby or school that you can't make a request to have some of their people come and wrestle. How can they not do this? This is a problem we're going to have soon. WWE doesn't have a problem. AEW doesn't have a problem. But TNA does, because they don't want to do this. I'm just saying. Moving on. Final match. We got the 6-man tag that I think shouldn't have been the ending of the match. No, not that. You see I'm botching here because Ace Austin could have closed the show with Mustafa Ali. Or they should have. They could have closed the show. And I think they should have closed the show. Because I'm not saying the match, the 6-man tag was bad. It wasn't. The System versus the House of Hardy. Seeing that Speedball Mike Bailey and Trent Seven coming out in the same kind of coat that Matt Hardy had was nice. But I'm being honest here. What did we really get here? We had a great match. Wasn't bad. Seeing Matt Hardy be the way it was good. The crowd did interact with Hardy a good amount. But I'm not going to tell you a lie that through most of this show, in upstate New York, not far from me, they weren't that very loud. They weren't. I'm not saying they weren't cheering, but there wasn't a lot of people cheering. Or, because the audio is bad, we can't tell if they're cheering very loudly. Because there was some that was cheering, some that wasn't. That's how it sounded. It sounded mostly quiet. Some did start cheering a good amount for Matt Hardy when they first started. And then they started cheering Ball of Speed very loudly for Speedball Mike Bailey. But you could tell the difference between when the mics can't pick up people and when they finally decide to become loud. So it's like maybe half the people started finally getting into it to almost all of them by the end of the match. Now, they did get into it when it came to Kushida as well as Gretchen, and you could hear it. So that tells me it's not just the audio where they don't have it almost nothing for the crowd there. People weren't fully engaged with all the matches there. So it was a good match. Seeing Matt Hardy put Moose through a table was good. And in the end, the System won. They did. But what does this mean now for the system? Where do we go from here? Honestly, I don't know. The problem I have here is this. Who's next? Eric Young? Jake something? No. Is it going to be Josh Alexander? Probably. We have very few people that can go up against Moose. And now, if they're breaking up ABC, who's going up against Eddie Edwards and Brian Myers? Who? You have very few teams in TNA. You have very few teams to work the matches. You got very few people going for the X Division. You have very few people going to the Digital Media Championship. And when it comes to Moose, you don't have anybody. They just said Nick Nimitz was out. And that's the reason why Matt Hardy's there. And now you're going to say, well, Matt Hardy could do it. But he just lost in the match, even though he wasn't one that got pinned. It just feels like they need more people. And worse yet, next to needing more people to either work their divisions, they need better booking. I'm telling you, we're supposed to be in a new era for TNA, and it doesn't seem much better than it was in Impact. Now, mind you, I'm not saying it's all trash. It's not. I liked the show. It was not bad. It was a good show. But we should be more excited when these type of shows come on. We should be more excited for TNA Impact coming on. But since they still don't do many live events, they're going to be doing a live event, what? Maybe a couple of weeks from now, they may do one live event? Maybe? They need to go all live. But if Anthem is not going to have them go live because they don't want to fork out the money to do live shows, what was the point of turning back to TNA? Just to maybe make a little bit more merch money. It's just me. Peace.